Moving into Gerry's OK Tire Real Street class now. Joel Smith in the TCS lane, and that's 71 Pontiac. He's an Abbotsford resident, sponsored by Gerry's OK Tire, RPM Alignment, and Zabstrack Racing. Raj Lal in the Lordco lane in the Honda Civic. Little problems for the Honda Civic in the Lordco lane. Big problems, in fact. And of course, we're racing to the quarter mile here in West Coast Real Street. Joel at 10.89 at 1:31. Looks like track officials will have to head out there and see if they can give this gentleman a hand. Doorwarz 11, sponsored by the Titanium Auto Group here at the Mission Raceway.
Yeah, so tough break there for Raj in the Civic. Looks like might need some assistance off the racetrack, as you mentioned there, Chrissy. And cool deal here starting up with the West Coast Outlaws Real Street category. As you mentioned again, quarter-mile bracket class. So when it comes to eliminations, all these racers will be dialing in based off of these qualifying runs. But it has to be a street-legal vehicle that competes in Real Street. And a big thanks to the folks at Gerry's OK Tire for bringing us all the Real Street action. Hey, for those of you at the racetrack here, make sure to check out the Beer Garden, sponsored by Jack's Beer, Wine, and Spirits. And again, if you're over the age of 19, make sure to head on over to the Beer Gardens again here on the pit side, right beside the tower. You can get refreshed and discover the world of exceptional beverages at Jack's Beer, Wine, and Spirits. Jack's offers a vast selection of beers, wines, and spirits to satisfy every palate. You can make sure to head on over to the Beer Gardens again if you're 19 years of age and older here on the pit side of things. Also 3 food trucks to check out over on the spectator side. The Jay's Disco Dogs Yardie Grill and Chicken on Tires food trucks all over there on the spectator side of things. And the other side of the Lordco Auto Parts Bridge here at the Titanium Strip at Mission Raceway Park. And also make sure to check out your West Coast Pro modified merchandise at their tent right next to the Badass Garage tent. And that is down towards the half-track snack shack, the washrooms, and also the Pro Shop open, so you can get your official Doorwarz 11 merchandise. Make sure to get that, all presented by the Titanium Auto Group, again at the Titanium Strip here at Mission Raceway Park, as we get Raj's Civic pushed back and make sure that the racetrack is A-OK before we send the next pair of Real Street competitors.
Scott Kolodachuk from Surrey in the Lordco lane. 1991 Fox Body Mustang over there. He calls Snoop, going against Rob Monroe Jr. 69 Acadian, sponsored by Gibson Racing Transmissions, Horizon Paint and Body, and SD Performance. As we carry off here in West Coast Real Street at Doorwarz 11 on the Titanium Strip. Oh, it looks like we're going to have to push back this vehicle. How unfortunate. Kolodachuk's just going to make his way down the track at his own leisure.
So tough break there for Scott as he'll idle his way down to the top end as Rob Monroe Jr. has been pushed back in the 69 Acadian. Tough break for Rob as he's still trying to get things sorted out there, so hopefully they can get that car back up and running as we still move on through the Real Street field for Gerry's OK Tire. And up next, we'll roll the next pair in Real Street competition.
Scott Warden from the Okanagan in that 1953 Chevy pickup he calls Lumpy. And we've got the Mach 1 Mustang in the TCS lane. No driver info at this moment. It looks like our TCS Mach 1 rolling through the light, and Scott will be getting a time here in qualifying to the quarter mile at 10.09 at 130 miles an hour for Scott Warden. It's Robert Unger from Langley in this 1966 Chevelle running a 505 big block Chev calls Daisy. Racing to the quarter mile here in West Coast Real Street at 10.67 at 124 miles an hour for Robert. All right, here comes Rob Monroe Sr. These two are double classing. Rob from Langley, sponsored by White Knuckle Racing and Gibson Racing. He's in that 31 Ford going against Tom Turand in the Kraken, sponsored by Daytona Motorsports and Boulder Designs 2017 GSXR. Rob Monroe Sr., TCS lane, and Tom Turand in the Lordco lane. Waiting for Rob to bump in that last bulb. And time's out. And off Tom Turand goes.
So we should say that these drivers have, once the other driver lights that bottom bulb, they have 7 seconds to get into the stage beams. So the starter timing out, Rob Monroe Sr., is he'll idle down the racetrack, unfortunately not getting a time here in Gerry's OK Tire Real Street, as I believe that will do it for Gerry's OK Tire Real Street.
All right, first pair of Gerry's OK Tire Real Street vehicles. Acadian in the Lordco lane, the Mach 1 Mustang in the TCS side. .82 at 99 miles an hour for the Lordco side, 7.69 at 91 in the TCS side. Joel Smith here in the 71 Pontiac Ventura, sponsored by Gerry's OK Tire, RPM Alignment, and Zap Strap Racing. Scott in the TCS lane in Snoop, 1991 Mustang. Real Street here at Doorwarz 11. Racing to the quarter mile, it's a 10.34 at 133 miles an hour for Joel Smith. 10.52 at 128 for Scott. Single pass here. It's Robert Unger from Langley. 1966 Chevelle with a 505 big block shove. He calls Daisy. Second round of qualifying here in West Coast Real Street. Sponsored by Gerry's OK Tire, a 10.50 at 128 miles an hour for Robert.
Track, and just like that, looks like we are ready to go. Tom Tarrant in the Suzuki. Attempt number 2 successful on Tom's last name pronunciation. So finishing off Real Street, again, the 1199 index class. So here we go. Looks like we'll sneak in one final pair again of Real Street is Rob Monroe, Sr., in the TCS lane, 1931 Ford Model A out of Langley, up against Tom Tarrant in the Suzuki. And the rider and driver competing in 2 classes, so a little bit delayed getting back through the pits, making sure that both their respective vehicles are cooled down enough and ready to go for their second qualifying hit in Real Street, presented by Gerry's OK Tire for the weekend. Here at Mission Raceway Park is getting ready. Monroe wheels up launch. Tarrant, solid 60-foot numbers as they get down to the top end of the racetrack, and it is just going to be the Suzuki with an 860 with a 2 at 156 miles an hour and 886 with a 0, 149 miles an hour for Rob Monroe out of Langley over that TCS side of the racetrack, and that will officially wrap up. Well, no, we'll sneak one more in. Scott Warden out of the Okanagan in his 1953 Chevy pickup. Very cool patinaed machine, ran a 10:03 in his final test hit of the day earlier on this afternoon. Now the conditions have cooled off. We'll see what Scott can do. So again, the Pro Tree here for Real Street competition with all 3 amber lights blinking on simultaneously, as opposed to the Sportsman Tree with each individual light blinking down. And deep into the 9s, 989 with an 8 at 134 miles an hour for Scott Warden. So Scott in the 53 Chevy pickup, another solid run there for Scott, and solid 9-second pass. His first 9-second run of the weekend is now, I will not announcer's curse myself, that is officially the end of Gerry's Tire. Gerry's OK Tire, rather. Real Street. And here, still bringing up just a pair that has a qualifying rerun here from Gerry's OK Tire Real Street competition.
Sean Langley in the TCS lane from Lyndon, Washington, and that 69 Mach 1 Mustang called the Hustler. He is the 2022 Pacific Raceway Sportsman Champ. He's going against Rob Monroe in the 69 Acadian, sponsored by Gibson Racing Transmissions, Horizon Paint and Body, and SD Performance. Running a pair from a Real Street here, West Coast Real Street. At 11.97 at 112 for Sean Langley. And a 10.75 at 123. Red light doesn't matter, still qualifying. Street moving into Real Street. Real Street to the quarter mile. Doorwarz 11 here, just wrapping up the last few classes. Again, we do this all again tomorrow, 9 a.m. Doorwarz 11. Tomorrow morning, we'll be starting off with non-electronics and electronics in the junior, and we have a full day of racing action tomorrow. Joel Smith in the TCS lane. He's from Abbotsford, 1971 Pontiac. Sponsored by Gerry's OK Tire, RPM Alignment, and Zapstrap Racing. Going against Rob Monroe. 69 Acadian, sponsored by Gibson Racing Transmission, Horizon Paint and Body, and SD Performance. Bulbs are lit. Double green, a launch by Rob Monroe. To the quarter mile in Real Street, a 10.73, 123 miles an hour for Rob Monroe, a 10.80 at 131 for Joel Smith. Robert Unger in the TCS lane. He's from Langley, driving his car called Daisy, going against Scott in his car called Snoop. At 10.50, 127 miles an hour for Scott, and a 10.54 with the red light for Rob Unger, but that doesn't matter. This is third round of qualifying. Raj Lal in the TCS lane in the Black Widow 1991 Honda Civic, going against Sean Langley from Lyndon, Washington, 1969 Mach 1, called the Hustler. He's the 2022 Pacific Raceway Sportsman Champ, Sean Langley in the Lordco lane, going against Raj Lal here in Real Street, Doorwarz 11. Snap, crackle, pop for Raj Lal. $11.92, 212 for Sean Langley. 16.09 at 73 for Raj Lal. And Rob Monroe Sr. double classing here, also in Real Street, as well as West Coast Outlaw Street. Sponsored by White Knuckle Racing and Gibson Racing. Rob Monroe Sr. from Langley. '31 Ford Model A. Rob Monroe Sr. Little lift off for Rob Monroe. An 8.89 with an 849 miles an hour for Rob Monroe. Right, looks like we're going into a little bit of track prep.
And yes, it will. We will move on in to Real Street coming up next.
Real Street racing to the quarter mile. These are generally cars that drove to the track. We have Robert Unger in the TCS lane from Langley. He's racing that 1966 Chevelle called Daisy, going against Scott Warden from the Okanagan. 1953 Chevy pickup called Lumpy. Bulbs are lit. Double green. Nice pass for both of these guys. 0.02, 134 miles an hour for Scott Warden, and Robert with a 10.49 at 128.
So, of course, with Real Street, going back to the quarter mile, you have to have the car actually street legal to run in the division. The only stipulation being that you have to run quicker than an 11.99. Bikes are also allowed in the category, and we'll see a few of our Outlaw Street competitors hot lapping it back to the tail end of the staging area and trying to get back in line here for Real Street competition.
Rob Monroe Jr. in the TCS lane, 69 Acadian, running a 385 small block Chev, sponsored by Gibson Racing Transmissions, Horizon Paint and Body, and SD Performance, going against Joel Smith from Abbotsford, the 71 Pontiac, sponsored by Gerry's OK Tire, RPM Alignment, and Zap Strap Racing. Nice little lift off for both these cars. Pretty much side-by-side racing here in the Real Street class, but it's going to Joel Smith, a 10.26 at 133 miles an hour, and Rob Monroe at 10.71 at 123. We've got Raj Lal here in the Black Widow. I was talking to him earlier. That's a 91 Civic. Now, he calls it the Black Widow because they fight, and he says he had a word with that Black Widow, so hopefully that gets straightened out. Going against Sean Langley from Linden, Washington in the Hustler, 69 Mach 1 Mustang. Looks like he's going to have another talk with that naughty Black Widow. Sean Langley in 11.92 at 112 miles an hour. He was the Pacific Raceway Sportsman Champ in 2022, and Raj Lal a 14.10, 91 miles an hour. Scott Kolodachuk from Surrey in the 1991 Mustang called Snoop, going against Rob Monroe Sr., hot lapping it, double classing there in the 31 Model A. Sponsored by White Knuckle Racing, Gibson's Racing Transmissions, and SD Performance here. Real Street, Doorwarz 11. A great launch for Mr. Monroe Sr., but a little too quick on the draw. A 002 red for Rock. An 8.80 at 150 miles an hour. And Scott a 10.97 at 125. Carrying on here in Real Street, Doorwarz 11. Happy Canada Day, folks. The beer garden is open if you'd care to celebrate that way if you're an adult. And of course, the Pro Shop, ice cream, pop, everything you could need. Tom prefers his tires very, very warm. Tom Durand, 2017 GSX-R called the Kraken, sponsored by Daytona Motorsports and Boulder Designs. Not only does Tom hang out and drag race these cool bikes, he's also into those adventure bikes, touring bikes. He's a great guy. Stop by and talk to him if you're into that kind of thing. He'd love to talk to you about it. Tom Durand, a regular here at the Titanium Strip at Mission Raceway in Real Street, Doorwarz 11. Oh, big wheels up for Tom Durand. Tom Turan, 8.81, 156 miles an hour with the wheels in the air. Wow. That takes some big kahunas to race those. Attention in the pits. Attention in the pits. Electronics heading into Real Street. Joel Smith in the TCS lane from Abbotsford. 1971 Pontiac, sponsored by Gerry's OK Tire, RPM Alignment, and Zapstrap Racing. It's going against Rob Monroe Jr., the 69 Acadian, running a 385 small block Chev, sponsored by Gibson Racing Transmission, Horizon Paint and Body, and SD Performance. Joel Smith and Rob Monroe. Waiting for Rob to light that first bulb up. Joel dialed in at a 10:31. Rob a 10:73. Bulbs are lit. Real Street. Doorwarz 11. Looks like bad luck for Joel. Going to red, and Rob Monroe Jr. moving ahead into the next round of Real Street. Scott Warden in the TCS lane from the Okanagan, running that 53 Chevy pickup called Lumpy. Beautiful patina on that thing. Going against Sean Langley from Lyndon, Washington, the 1969 Mach 1 Mustang called the Hustler. He was the 2022 Pacific Raceway Sportsman Champ. It's Scott Warden and Sean Langley. Real Street, of course, to the quarter mile. Scott's dial-in is a 995. Sean is a 1194. So Scott's going to have to be very patient while Sean makes his way down the track, but not patient at all. A huge red light for Scott Warden. The win going to Sean Langley, a 12 even at 112 miles an hour.
Attention in the pits, attention to the pits. Raj Lal and Scott Kolodichuk, we need you both to the staging lanes, please. Raj Lal, Scott Kolodichuk, we need you both to the lanes with your vehicles. You're getting set to run your class. As well as that, attention all competitors throughout the course of the day, especially finalists and current winners. As many of you are aware, we've got Valley Tech Productions on the property doing an amazing job with us so far here this afternoon. We are going to be prepared to interview winners throughout the course of the evening as well as we move through tonight's proceedings. So if you are a winner or even a runner-up and you want to have yourself an interview down in the MRP Winners Circle, you feel free to either just chill out there. We'll be able to get to you as soon as possible, or you can send a crew member or a driver or somebody associated with the team up to the timing tower. We would be more than happy to get one of the camera guys down there and give you a little chat.
All right, Nolan interviewing the drivers, and he's been doing some pretty darn cool interviews all day, I must say. Well done, Nolan, and of course, Valley Tech Productions helping us out with everything, and you know that big screen only gets cooler and brighter as it gets darker. Cars getting faster, everything's cooling down. Soon that sun will be down, track will cool off, and we have tons of racing action ahead, folks. Happy Canada Day to everybody. Thanks for spending your day here with us. Doorwarz 11 on the Titanium Strip here at Mission Raceway. What a great day it has been, and it's only going to get more awesome as we go. All right, looks like a single pass here in Real Street. It's Robert Unger in the TCS lane. Driving Daisy, he's from Langley. Competition single. .70 at 105 miles an hour for Robert, getting a little tire spin as he took off. Now we've got Rob Monroe Sr., 1931 Model A, running a 414 small block Chev, sponsored by White Knuckle Racing, Gibson Racing Transmissions, and SD Performance. He's dialed in at 888. Rob Monroe Sr. in Real Street here at Doorwarz 11. Nice liftoff for Rob Monroe Sr. as he barrels on down the track. A 9.06, 148 miles an hour. Attention in the pits, attention in the pits. Can we get all the juniors over to the grassy area next to the tower, please? All the juniors over to the grassy area next to the tower. We have something for you. Tom Turand here in Real Street in the Kraken, sponsored by Daytona Motorsports and Boulder Designs. All right, a bye run for Tom 006 Red, but a bye, so.
We bring up Rob Monroe Jr. over here in his 1969 Acadian over in the TCS lane. Facing off against Sean Langley in the Mach 1 Hustler. Still 3 rounds of competition remaining in Gerry's OK Tire Real Street. We are sitting in the quarterfinals as it stands. Rob Monroe Sr. has a bye run into the semifinals. Burnouts complete for Rob Monroe Jr. and Sean Langley. Monroe going to look to take the Gibson's Racing Transmissions, Horizon Paint, the Autobody, and SD Performance Acadian to the next round. After knocking out Smith Sean Langley, of course, previously facing off against Warden. Pair of green lights. This turns to a race for the quarter mile. And up at the top end, it'll be a breakout for Sean Langley. Rob Monroe will move on into the next round of eliminations. We bring up Tom Turan in the Daytona Motorsports Boulder Designs Kraken GSXR to race Robert Unger in the Daisy. And Turan is ready to hightail that motorcycle up to the top end. It's not too often he finds himself racing under the lights here at the Titanium Strip. Not deterred at all as he is still the first to bump his way in. Tom Turan trying to outdrive Robert Unger up at the quarter mile, and will do so. Turan getting around Robert Unger puts his way into the Real Street semifinals. And that will take us to Rob Monroe Sr. in the Gibson Racing Transmissions ST Performance White Knuckle Racing 1931 Model A with the buy run. And Gerry's Tire, Real Street. Monroe carrying the front wheels. He'll run that 888 dial through to an 883 with a 9 at 149 miles an hour. We'll wrap us up for Gerry's OK Tire, Real Street. Rob Monroe going to be taking the bye, and Gerry's OK Tire Real Street. That will be Rob Monroe Jr. looking to take that bye run. And, well, this is a first for me. We need to get a restricted pass for a little furry friend. Apparently a coyote has found its way onto the racetrack near the top end. So that's a new one for me. I've had a lot of scenarios being called here at Mission Raceway Park. I've seen drivers double break out more times than I can count. I've seen drivers stage with their feet. I've seen drivers trip zip with their feet. I've seen drivers trip zip with their feet while jumping. I've seen a lot of crazy things here. First time, though, getting to call wildlife on the facility. Tom Turan will be racing against Rob Monroe Sr. So we have the potential for two Monroes in a final round. Burnout's fully complete. We will roll into our last semifinal round before it is only finalists over the course of the evening. 2 green lights, 2 wheels versus 4. Modern motorbike versus good old-fashioned horsepower. And this time, the double breakout gives it to Rob Monroe Sr. It is a father versus son battle in the Gerry's OK Tire Real Street Final. You take a look at it on the instant replay up on the big screens. The double breakout came By the way of Turan going under by 74 thou. Monroe only under by 13. Monroe only getting there by 0.02 of a second. So we move into what is going to be, no doubt, a thrilling run of Gerry's OK Tire Real Street. Father versus son. Rob Monroe Sr. brings up the Ford Model A over here. In the TCS lane for White Knuckle Racing, Gibson Racing Transmissions and SD Performance, dialed in at 888. Monroe for Gibson Racing Transmissions, Horizon Paint and Auto Body, and SD Performance dialed at a 1073. Two green lights as we hightail out towards the top end. Will it be the old or the new? It'll be the young guns to take this one. Rob Monroe Jr. besting his father in the Gerry's OK Tire Real Street Final in Doorwarz 11. You see our final results for Gerry's OK Tire Real Street, where Rob Monroe Jr. takes victory after knocking out Sean Langley and Smith, and then, of course, taking the bye to face off against Rob Monroe Sr.